We still are talking about the flash flooding. We still think that is going to be a big deal. And just heard the Weather Service is going to issue, maybe they have already, a big flash flood warning. Yeah, they just added a ton of counties. And what they're trying to do is account for all that heavy rain that's slowly sliding to the south. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to notice the flash flood warnings. I'm going to draw a line. Basically, the new ones are kind of right along here. It includes Crawford and Washington, Jefferson, Monroe, Randolph, St. Clair County, Clinton County in Illinois, Bond over to Fayette. But it's interesting that when you look at that and then you go look at the radar here, and I'll loop this for you, the heaviest rain is exactly in that spot. So what they're trying to do is account for all this heavy rain starting to shift to the southeast and move into some of those counties. And I have a feeling a lot of counties, if not all south of that line, are going to be in flash flood warnings before the night is out. Go back to that and check how long that's going to run, by the way. 5 a.m. So for St. Louis, it's until 2:30 a.m. for the flash flood warning. Same thing with St. Charles County. In St. Clair County, so you're in it until 5 a.m. St. Clair County, the Metro East, Belleville, you're in it till 5 a.m. You're part of that new flash flood warning, including Columbia, Illinois, and Monroe County, Jefferson County until 5 a.m. as well. Clinton County and the city of Carlisle also till 5 a.m. So just trying to keep you updated on new flash flood warnings and kind of why they've issued them and where it's going to be at its worst, which is St. Louis and southeast for the next several hours. It's going to be pretty bad with this rain. What was it, Catawissa?
Catawissa in Franklin County, 4 inches even, according to a train spotter down there.
They might be over 5 by now.
Wasn't that have like to imagine they're close. Oh, it was at least an hour ago now. Yeah, they've got to be close to 5.
Tremendous amount of rain when you're talking about a month's worth of average rainfall coming down in less than 24 hours.
Remember that whole extreme drought thing we were dealing with just a couple of not even a couple of years ago, but a few months ago.
Speaking of which, next week, we've already been kind of updated and telling you this. We're going to be watching the Mississippi and the Missouri rivers. The Mississippi River at St. Louis may reach one of the top 10 crests, meaning the top 10 highest levels it's ever had on record at least. So a top 10 highest level potential in St. Louis on the Mississippi next week. And that's because of all this rain, all the rain northern Missouri, up in Iowa, all flowing into the Missouri and the Mississippi, and those rivers are going to be in the rise. Just something to put in the back of your head, something we are tracking for you if anyone has interest around those rivers. Right now, flash flood warning is much more serious. It's not a river like a large river. It's the smaller rivers that can rise quickly. Right. The Merrimack can become very flashy, for instance. Creeks, Dardine Creek is one of them that tends to flood very quickly. And then, of course, flash flood warning is those spots where it's just a low-lying area and all of a sudden it turns into a flowing river.
And in the dark of night, particularly dangerous.
Yes,
even
absolutely.
Even if it's an area that you've traveled many times, you feel like you know it well, you can't tell what's happening underneath that standing water. Some of the roadway could have been washed away. I can't tell you how many times in a year across the country we hear tragic stories that started with someone thinking, I've been down this road before, I can do it.
Right, exactly. So talking about a flash flood warning instead of severe thunderstorm warnings, though, and no tornado warnings, that I suppose some good news, but still something to heed. And I'll flip you back over to the radar and loop this for you to show you that heavy rain continues, not noticing any new severe thunderstorm warnings. Those folks in Crawford, Washington County, St. Francis, St. Genevieve County, we are still watching out for you. We just don't see anything severe, and I'm even checking the winds within the storm just to see if there's anything that looks like something tornadic could flare up. Not seeing at this moment. So we are still on top of that for you, and of course we're on top of all the news coming in on all this damage across the area. We're at Pattonville at the staging site for all the ambulances. We're out in St. Charles County. We have someone stuck on I-70 with everyone else, but that's part of the story. There's power lines down across 70 until Ameren gets that cleared. The Blanchette Bridge is stuck, and I believe that's the eastbound lanes. Yes. We have folks out at the Riverport, the Holiday Inn Express that was damaged so heavily. We have folks in Gillespie, Illinois that was hit so hard. And don't forget, Gillespie is a community so close to Mount Olive that got hit by that EF2 tornado just last week. So there's an area of our coverage area in Macoupin County and far western Montgomery County. That whole community out there has been hit pretty hard. Several communities really from Mount Olive to Gillespie. And then of course we have folks out in Wood River and Hartford, Illinois that was hit. What you're looking right now is out at video at DePaul Hospital. This is in Bridgeton, and out at 70 and 270. They were hit hard. They had that code black where they had to move all the patients and people on the inside away from the windows. but we're hearing of no major injuries. You're looking at the trees that are down. That's why you move them away from the windows. It is so easy for a tornado or even straight line winds to push a tree branch through a window flying at 80 to 100 plus miles per hour. Now you've got the tree and the shards of glass. You just imagine the scary scenario that would be. And so that's why when they say code black, they're moving them into the interior hallways to get them away from those windows. And you're looking at crews picking up those trees and probably trying to pick up trees that are blocking roadways and move them so that not only can you get traffic moving, but more importantly, you can get those emergency personnel moving and the ambulances into the hospital for your more typical emergency needs. And when I say typical, I mean non-severe storm related. Jasmine Huda is actually at DePaul Hospital. She's the one that helped explain that whole cold black thing to us. Any new news out of there from DePaul Hospital, Jasmine?
Steve, we have a little more information about the damage here, and now we can show you firsthand some of this damage. Here's just some of the evidence of what the storm did to SSM DePaul Health Center in Bridgeton. You can see all of this throughout the parking lot, and what you're hearing, I don't know if you can see it, but back there is a crew there removing some of these trees that came down during this storm from just a couple of hours ago. They've got a long night ahead of them. I want to take you and show you to the front of the hospital. There's the hospital entrance. A spokesperson told me that several windows were smashed or busted because of the force of this storm. The good news is that no one was injured. Steve, you mentioned a code black that the hospital instituted. When the storms were rolling through, they went in through the precautionary action of having a code black, and essentially they moved the patients into the hallway to ensure that everyone would be safe as the storm was rolling through. And the good news is no one was injured, but as you can see, quite a bit of damage here. In fact, even to the emergency room here, they told me that one of the doors became unhinged and it actually came off. So that's just how strong the storm was. And as you can see in the parking lot, there's a lot of cleanup here. It is good to hear, though, that as big as these tree limbs and trees are, that no one was injured in this parking lot. I can also tell you that coming into SSM DePaul Health on Old St. Charles Rock Road, that there was a lot of debris on the road. There was no power. We saw power line bases snapped off. And traffic was moving very slowly. So one thing the spokesperson from DePaul wanted us to get the word out is if you are coming here tonight, just be careful because there are some down power lines, and it is, of course, going to take you a little bit longer to get here than you would normally expect.
Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. That's a great update from DePaul Health Center, and she said no major injuries, showing us the damage out there. I mean, it's just great news so far. Let's keep that up tonight. A blessing so far. Now, we still have some thunderstorms, not severe, but some thunderstorms raging through the southern part of our coverage area, and that is going to exacerbate the flooding, especially on some rivers. And Steve Savard has some new information coming in on flooding on one of the rivers in our area.
Yeah, Stephen Matt, a viewer from DeSoto, tells us that the Big River is flooding. He says in some areas of DeSoto and that area surrounding, 2 feet of water already. He mentioned Blackwood specifically. He says the wind is very strong there. Debris is still flying around everywhere. And again, DeSoto is an area that's been hit very hard by flooding with recent storms. They don't need any more problems, and apparently they're getting some flooding tonight, according to our viewer John from down in DeSoto. Governor Jay Nixon has already declared a state of emergency amid this latest round of violent weather to hit Missouri. And guys, I hate to even have to report this. The last thing that anyone in and around the Oklahoma City area needs is more adversity, but boy, do they have it again tonight. Tornadoes hit very, very hard in the suburbs of Oklahoma City tonight, and right now the latest number we have, 5 have been killed in the Oklahoma City suburbs. That number could rise. We certainly hope it doesn't, but again, Oklahoma City, specifically Moore, that was hit, devastated. About 10 or 11 days ago, takes another hit tonight. Not necessarily the Moore area. We have to get some more information, but the Oklahoma City suburbs, at last report, 5 are dead from tornadoes hitting there tonight.
And Steve, there are still storms right now in Oklahoma City. Let me take you to the radar because it's just been such an unbelievable topic with Moore getting hit and now them in Oklahoma City at least getting hit again. And if we can get the radar up in a second, but they're getting hit right now. It's a big line of thunderstorms, and I'll switch over and turn on the the warnings. There you go. Thanks, guys. And to see if we have any tornado warnings down there, and I don't see any offhand, so that's good news. I see severe thunderstorm warnings, which are those yellow boxes, but the bottom line is they're still getting hit. And this line of thunderstorms stretches from Oklahoma City right up into Springfield, up I-44. It is the I-44 corridor where it's now getting hit and starting to slide to the south, right up into St. Louis. This all kind of started to the north of us and then flared up and started to shift to the southeast and just hammered us with a line of storms that has produced a few tornadoes at least, and there may be more. I'm going to switch over to a map I'm just trying to build now, just trying to give you an idea of the recap. It's difficult for me to do this on the fly, but you help me, Matt, if there's anything I've left out as far as potential tornadoes. But these are the 3 spots that we're thinking of tornadoes have touched down. One is out around St. Charles County into northwestern St. Louis County. That's that Harvester area over to Family Arena, the Hollywood Casino, DePaul Health Center. So that was one spot right there. As I zoom in a little bit, we think the airport may have been hit, but I haven't heard any serious damage out around the airport. It may have lifted. I haven't heard anything from the Florissant area yet.
I remember at least one report of some minor tree damage there in Florissant. Didn't sound like anything incredibly significant.
So I guess what I'm saying is it's hard to tell if this path continued all the way into Illinois. Either way, it shifted a little bit to the north. So even if it was a continuous path, it kind of shifted to the north as it did and hit Hartford, Illinois, and Wood River, Illinois. So that was at least one, if not maybe 2 tornadoes, the Hartford, Wood River area, and we know for sure damage, and then of course the Hollywood Casino and over to St. Charles County and Family Arena. Then we have Gillespie, Illinois. We have a crew up there. They've been telling us how the gym has been hit so hard in Gillespie. Don't forget, just south of Gillespie's Mount Olive, they had a high-end EF2 tornado that was on the ground for 20 seconds or something like that. It was one of those brief spin-ups along a squall line thunderstorm that did damage in Mount Olive last week. Now we have one in Gillespie, and we're hearing reports of the school gym that has kind of caved in. So we know of those two to three. One of them may be in a continuous path from St. Charles over to Wood River, Illinois. Just not sure about that. I did read a report. It was just one report of a tree down in, I think it was High Ridge in Jefferson County, and it said tree down, possible tornado, but we haven't heard anything more specific on that. I think there's going to end up being more numerous confirmed tornadoes that are going to line up something like this, something like in that area, because it was that line from north to south that we saw these thunderstorms rolling through. If I replay the radar, my machine may actually shut down because it has been working since 6 p.m. and it has been ingesting all this data. Imagine all those lightning strikes it's ingesting. And if I try and replay the radar back 6 to 8 hours ago, it may actually shut down. But it was basically right around here that we saw a north to south line and then moving east. And I think along that line, we're probably going to find some more tornadic damage. The Weather Service is going to have their work cut out for them when they have to go out and inspect some of this damage. But that's kind of a on-the-fly replay of what we've been seeing, and you correct me if I've missed anything here, Matt, from any kind of damage you can recall.
I just keep thinking back to the very beginnings of the tornadic threat with this storm system, and that was actually out in Montgomery County, very close to I-70. That storm held together fairly well until about the time it crossed into northern Warren and western Lincoln counties. I don't recall off the top of my head ever really receiving any widespread damage reports from northern Warren or western Lincoln counties.
Right. Remember Troy? It flared up again right in Troy?
Yeah.
And now we have video of a tornado, of the tornado. Joe, is this the one from St. Charles? From St. Peter's looking south. This is it. Let's roll the video. That's big. And you're going to see on the right-hand side kind of how big it is when lightning lights it up. I think that's huge.
Boy, and this is the first time Steve and I are seeing this, so let's analyze what we're seeing a little bit.
I need the lightning to light it up again.
You can see.
I think we've got a rain shaft, and so it's clear from the center of the screen to the left. I think we've got a rain shaft from the center of the screen to the right.
That would be the dark area that extends to the ground.